All right, shalom. Welcome to our return to the webcast. It's been a few months since we were on. Had a lot of things going on. Um, First with the synagogue and things going on there, and then also with this virus, this coronavirus that has shaken up the world. It's just been away for a while. I think most of you probably know I work in the medical field, specifically in mental health. If you think if you're mentally stable and you think everything that's going on in the world is shaking you up, just imagine what it's doing to people who aren't normally stable. Um, but there have been a lot of changes. Wife's getting ready to give birth to child number 6, um, and had some issues with the building, and in particular, we don't have an operating facility, restroom facility to to allow people to use if they meet here. And without the funds coming in to correct that, we're just kind of dead in the water. But I thought I'd get on here and let you all know that I am alive and well, and everyone from the congregation is alive and well. And I guess since it doesn't look like we'll be moving forward anytime soon with live meetings, I thought I should get back to recording messages to send out to those of you who are listening wherever you are in the world. With that said, I'm going to pick up where we left off in Beshirit several months ago. We were in Beshirit, that is Genesis, and we will be picking up in chapter 46. Just a reminder, um, in the last chapter, in the previous chapter, Yusuf finally revealed to his brothers who he was and sent them back to Yaakov with his father with instructions to come down to Mitzrayim and that he would provide for him, being governor. It says, so Yitzrael let out with all that was his, and he came to Beersheba, where he offered sacrifices to the Elohim of his Abba Yitzhak. Now, I was reading through this earlier, preparing for this message, and it occurred to me, it's he doesn't just say he gave sacrifices. Moshe doesn't just tell us that Yaakov gave sacrifices to Elohim. He specifically says Elohim of his Abba Yitzhak. I think this is very important for us to consider because of where the people were about to go. In Mitzrayim, many, and we see this later in later in the history, we see that probably the majority, if not a large number, then the majority of, or if not the majority, then at least a large number, but I believe it was the majority from the way the text reads, a majority of Yitzrael, Ben Yitzrael, went to the extent of worshiping pagan Elohim, okay, worshiping the Elohim of the Mitzrayim who enslaved them, okay, and we see a lot of this in the world today. We see professing Jews. I have a dear friend who is ethnically Jewish, and actually more than one. I was thinking about a conversation I had with one the other day, but I've seen several who have been friends and coworkers, neighbors over the years, who are ethnically Jewish and profess to be atheists. And when I talk to them about, well, this is our heritage, and so many of them will say, well, isn't it better that I'm an atheist and I just don't believe at all than to be going out and worshiping these false gods that other people worship? And I can't get them to understand that atheism is the religion of today. Okay, we're in Mitzrayim spiritually today here in the United States and in all the countries of the world, the movement is toward um, a non-creationary, a non-biblical um, belief system that believes that everything just happened by accident. There was no creator Elohim involved. Um, and really, that's no better than going after and chasing after false Elohim. And it says, Elohim called to Yisrael in a vision by night. Now I want you to think about the order here. The order here is not that Elohim called to Yaakov. That's how I hear it taught all the time, or every time I hear it taught. It seems like I hear that it's Elohim called to Yaakov, and Yaakov answered. No, no. Yaakov went seeking the direction and the blessing of the Elohim of Abraham. He went to him with sacrificial love and offering. And he put the sacrifice before him. And then it says, Elohim called to Israel in a vision by night, Yaakov, Yaakov. He answered, here. Okay. And he said, I am Elohim, the Elohim of your Abba. Fear not to go down to Mitzrayim, for I will make you there into a great nation. I myself will go down with you to Mitzrayim, and I myself will also bring you back, and Yusuf's hand shall close your eyes. I want you to think about what's going on here. I'm asking you to consider this. Not only did Elohim just call out to Yaakov, he waited until Yaakov made the sacrifice and petitioned him. Yaakov was there waiting. He heard the call and the vision of the night, and he answered, here. And what I see a lot of today is people have this tendency, professing believers that I run into have this tendency, well, I asked God for direction and he didn't give me any. And my question is, or they just say that Elohim is not giving them direction. And I say, well, did you ask him? Well, no, I'm just waiting for him. Okay, well, there's the first wrong move. And the second wrong move is, did you ask him? Well, yes, now I've asked him, but I haven't heard an answer. Then why aren't you waiting? Why are you going out and doing the things that you're questioning whether or not you should be doing? They're up in the air. You're up in the air about it, and you're not listening. It says that he waited there. He waited in the camp. He didn't just, he went all the ways. He made the sacrifice, got to Beersheba, made the sacrifice at the altar as was proper. And then he waited, and Elohim answered him. And then he gets this promise. Fear not to go down to Mitzrayim. So that tells him it's okay to do this. Okay, you have my blessing. It says because before that he had told him to stay in the land of the Canaanite. It says, for I will make you there into a great nation. Okay, so we have a promise. It's a reiteration of the promise to Abraham, the reiteration of the promise to Yitzhak. It is a reiteration of the earlier promise that he made to Yaakov. Okay, it says, I myself will go down with you to Mitzrayim. And isn't that a beautiful thing? He doesn't say, I'm sending you to Mitzrayim. Okay, he says, I will go down with you to Mitzrayim. I read this and I'm reminded of the story of Noah and the ark. It doesn't say that Elohim just sealed Noah into the ark. It says that he closed the door. Okay, and the door closed from the inside. And then the picture there in the Hebrew is such a beautiful thing because it says it literally says that Elohim was there with him in the ark. And isn't that what we should all want when we're praying about what we should be doing? Not just what is his will that we can go do, but what is his will that he is going to do with us. It says, I will go down with you to Mitzrayim, and I myself will bring you back, and Yusef's hand shall close your eyes. He says, I'm not just taking you down there to leave you. I'm taking you down there, and I'll bring you back up. And Yusef, your son, who was dead, okay, he basically is the equivalent if someone's been missing for a long time and you go to court and you have them declared dead so you can collect the life insurance, or their spouse can remarry without guilt, or whatever the situation. When he had gone down to Mitzrayim by force and been gone so long, and Yaakov believed him dead because of the trickery of the brothers, that in his heart he was dead, but he was alive. I want you to think about that. He was dead, and then he was alive. And tell me if that's not a typology of Mashiach. So this isn't just a promise to the nation, to the patriarch of the whole nation. It's not just a promise to us of what was going to happen in Mitzrayim. It's a picture for us so that we cannot deny Mashiach when we see him. Okay? The whole life of Yosef is a picture of Mashiach if it's studied from the right point of view. And he says, not only will you find Yosef when you're down there, he will close your eyes. Your beloved son will be with you when you die. He says, I'm giving you this promise, and it is yours for the remainder of your life. So Yaakov set out from Beersheba. The sons of Yisrael put their Abba Yaakov and their children and their wives and their wagons that Pharaoh had sent to transport him. And they took along their livestock and the wealth that they had amassed in the land of the Canaanim. Thus Yaakov and all his offspring with him came to Mitzrayim, and brought with him to Mitzrayim his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. Okay, so he's been in the land of the Canaanim long enough not only to have sons, but to have sons who had sons. And he's not losing any of that. So often in life we feel like, they say, well, a door has closed, a chapter has ended, we got to start fresh. I've had points like that in my life. But if we look at that and we say, oh, well, we've lost all of these worldly things. He lost the land that he was promised, but he kept the greater blessing. And looking back over my life, every time I've lost what I thought was the greater blessing, I found out later that the greater blessing was something that I had missed because I was looking at the lesser blessing. And we talk so much about we want the land back. Yes, we want the land. Well, we're in the land, but we want possession of the land without being accosted by the neighbors. We talk about that all the time. What we should be wanting is a spiritual awakening for the people. We should be wanting the greater blessing. And I hear so many people focus on the worldly things that we need to go back. We need to focus on the true essence of the blessing, that he would make us a great nation. And we need to look at the blessing that he gave us as the picture of holiness, of if we will just live in a holy fashion for him, in a sanctified fashion. These are the names of the Yitzraelim, Yaakov and his descendants who came to Mitzrayim. Yaakov's firstborn, Reuben. Reuben's sons, Enoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Shimon's sons, Yemuel, Yamin, Ohad, Yachin, Zohar, and Saul, the son of a Canaanite woman. And you notice something there? It is pointed out that he is the son of a Canaanite woman. Okay, he's Shimeon's son, but by a woman of the land. But do you see that he is not? It is not said that he's not part of Israel. We get hung up so much in Jewish culture, in Hebraic culture. There's so much attention paid to your genealogy, and that's great. That's why the genealogy is being listed here, is because we need to know who we came from and where we came from. But you notice that he's not. He's half Canaanite, and he's still part of Yisrael, and he gets no less of an inheritance in the lineage. I should say, grandson of Israel. But it says Levi's sons: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Yehuda's sons: Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan had died in the land of the Canaanite, and Perez's sons were Hezron and Hamul. Yishaktar's sons: Tola, Huva, Tob, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons: Sered, Elon, and Yahaleel. These were the sons whom Leah bore to Jacob in Padan Aram, in addition to his daughter Dinah, persons in all, male and female, 33. God, or Gad, depending on the dialect you use or you read, God's sons: Ziphion, Haggai, Shuni, Ezbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. Asher's sons: Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah, and their sister Sarah. Beriah's sons: Eber and Malchiel. These were the descendants of Zilpah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Leah. These she bore to Yaakov, 16 persons. The sons of Yaakov's wife Rachel were Yusef and Benjamin. To Yusef were born in the land of Mitzrayim Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore to him. Benjamin's sons: Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muphim, Hupim, and Ard. These were the descendants of Rachel, who were born to Yaakov, 14 persons in all. Dan's sons: Hushim. Naphtali's sons: Yaziel, Uni, Yezer, and Shiliam. These were the descendants of Bilhah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Rachel. These she bore to Yaakov, 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Yaakov who came to Mitzrayim, his own issue aside from the wives of Yaakov's sons. All these persons numbered 66, and Yusef's sons who were born to him in Mitzrayim were 2 in number. Thus the total of Yaakov's household who came to Mitzrayim was 70 persons. I want to stop there and I want you to think about this. Not only was the grandchild born to the son by the foreign woman counted among the inheritors, okay? The children born to the slaves who were born in his house, the servant girls who lived in the house, who Yaakov also married, okay, at the request of his wives. Those children and their children, down through the ages, all of their descendants are just as much a part of Yisrael as were the biological sons of Yisrael. Now, why is it that we come to this season that we're in? Pesach's a week away, less than a week away. Why is it that we come to this season and we hear people? I hear Ravim, I hear professing Jews all over. I see it on the internet. Well, they can't come to the table of Pesach if they're not descended from Yisrael. Or well, I don't know if he should or she should sit at the table of Pesach because they're not. He's, his mom was a Gentile, or his grandfather was a Gentile. Pesach is given as a testimony to the sons, or by the sons, a testimony to remember what Elohim did for us. We went in. We talk about we came out a mixed multitude and people converted in. Came out of Mitzrayim a mixed multitude. And we talk about that. And so it always flabbergasts me when people, even people who are grafted in, are accepted more than people who only had one Jewish parent. Where does this come from? Okay, we talk about anti-Semitism and we hate it. Why is it that we are so anti? If your parents, if one of your parents is Jewish and decides to marry outside of the people, and you're the product, why should you not be treated as part of the people if that's the heritage that you choose to cling to? Okay, and so I look at that, and then I also look at people who, why is it that people who were not raised Jewish in general can be brought into a synagogue, and so long as they go through certain steps, which usually aren't even the right steps according to scripture, that really boggles my mind. They go through like a synagogue membership class basically, and they're told, okay, now you can come to Pesach. Pesach is the only commanded modim. Okay, it's not it is not a high Shabbat, but it isn't part of the modim. It's the only commanded day that a non-Jew is not allowed to partake of. And yet you have people who are not even all the way through the conversion process, so to speak, who come and sit at the table and they're told they're welcome. And you have people who have gone through the full, their whole lives, basically. They've been raised maybe in a mixed culture, mixed household. Maybe they had to grow up and decide which side they stood on. But they come to us, and so many times they're told, well, you're not a true Jew. We have to stop that. Okay? That breaks the heart of Elohim, of Yehovah. That breaks the heart, I am certain, of Mashiach. Okay? Because he went to the Samaritan woman, and blessed her. Even in her sin, told her what she had done wrong, told her, basically with the forgiveness of sins, and told her, don't even bother, don't go tell who he is. And yet she went out anyway because she was so moved by what he did and told what he had done. And I said, could this be the Mashiach? Could this be the one we're waiting for? Because they were waiting for him too. The whole world, really, whether they realized it or not, was waiting for him. So I'm sure it breaks his heart when people who maybe one parent but not the other was Jewish, okay, and they're being cast out. They're being treated like outsiders. This has to stop. He had sent Yehudah ahead of him to Yosef to point the way before him to Goshen. So when they came to the region of Goshen, Yosef ordered his chariot and went to Goshen to meet his Abba, Yisrael. He presented himself to him and embraced him around the neck. He wept on his neck a good while. Then Yisrael said to Yosef, now I can die, having seen for myself that you are still alive. Amen. And I think about families that I've known where maybe they had raised their children right and the children had gone astray for a time, or maybe they raised them wrong. They raised them outside the covenant, and then the parents came to faith later in life, and they weep for the children who don't know any better, and they're consistently trying to teach them, but it seems like it's too late. And I think about all the times I have seen this happen, where toward the end of the life, the parent gets to see the face of a believing child, and it lets them pass in peace. Um, I'm thankful that so far my children who are old enough to understand have all made the decision um, to be Jewish, okay, and to live as Jews. But if I ever have one who doesn't immediately or in the quote unquote right time choose, I pray that I'll eventually see them turn their heart, they get their hearts turned to Him, and I pray that I'll be able to say, now I can die having seen for myself that you are still alive. Okay, because what we're talking about there, he's talking about a physical life. I'm talking about a spiritual life. Okay, we should all long, not just for our children and our grandchildren, but for everyone we know. We should long that before we die, we should long to see them sanctified. Okay, to see them set apart for Him. Then Yusuf said to his brothers and to his father's household, his Abba's household, I will go up and tell the news to Pharaoh and say to him, my brothers and my Abba's household who were in the land of the Canaanite have come to me. The men are shepherds, they have always been breeders of livestock, and they have brought with them their flocks and herds and all that is theirs. So when Pharaoh summons you and asks, what is your occupation? You shall answer, your servants have been breeders of livestock from the start until now, but we and our Abbas, both we and our Abbas, I'm sorry, both we and that would be our Abbo, Arim. So that you may stay in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are abhorrent to the Mitzrayim. Okay, so even in that situation, even when Yusuf was governor of the nation, it wasn't a, it wasn't just a done deal where our people would settle. He had to kind of orchestrate it. He had to be wise, and he knew if all they said is we are Yusuf's brothers, they would be brought into the court and given positions and things that they weren't qualified for, because that's how politics works. And he knew that they would have to give up the blessings that Elohim had given them, and he didn't want that. He wanted them to be able to continue on in a lifestyle that they knew and that they were to do the things they were good at. And so he arranged this situation so that when they would say they were shepherds, they would automatically be sent to Goshen, which historical records tell us was the richest, most fertile grassland in all of what was then part of Mitzrayim. And so once again, although they had given up temporarily the land of the Canaanite, the promised Holy Land, for the time that they were going to be dwelling out in another land, they were blessed because Yehovah had given wisdom to Yusuf to be able to choose the right words for them to say so that they would continue to be blessed. Actually, physically, they were going to be blessed even more abundantly than they were in the land of the Canaanite.